Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I'm so glad that you joined us today. We are going to be taking calls for a couple of hours, so call us at 1-800-229-3000. And by us, I mean Dr. Alice Benton and Chris Williams. Hello, you guys.
Hi.
Hey.
You know, one of the things that we are challenged with in this world is what we see in the media, social media and otherwise. And we start to compare the highlight reels of people's lives in our reality. We don't, look at our highlight reels. We just kind of skip over that. But, comparison trap is a thing. Mm-hmm. And I just am kind of curious, how do people get caught up in this trap? And what can we do to move out of it?
Well, we are social beings, right? We're created for connection, and we need a place to belong. And in the place of belonging, we get hopefully good and accurate mirrors of who we are and where we stand in the world. When we're in loneliness and isolation, we don't know where we stand. And oftentimes comparison is a byproduct of loneliness or isolation. Mm-hmm. and kind of a measurement of where do we stand. But I like to really point out the three fallacies of comparison. Number one, oftentimes when we're comparing to another person, we're comparing how we feel on the inside versus how they look on the outside. We're constructing stories with very, very limited information that oftentimes are very inaccurate stories. The other thing that we like to do is we like to, when we're comparing to a very specific time and place. People's like, oh, Chris Williams has such a great life. I want his life. I'm like, well, wait a second. What part of my life do you want? You can't just have part of it. You have to have all of it. And so it's a way to get out of ourselves, but usually either trying to inaccurately feel better or worse than ourselves. And that leads us to the third fallacy of comparison, and that it relationally separates. And it does it in two directions. In comparison, we're going to end up in one of two places, with either a false sense of inferiority to somebody else or a false sense of superiority to somebody else. Either place creates relational separation, and ultimately we leave ourselves out of, we kind of separate from ourselves in that process.
Oh, that's wonderful. Alice, what's the answer to that then? What can we do?
Well, I think God foresaw social media when he said, don't compare yourself to other people. He cautioned us against this. And social media is just the perfect storm to do this and to get caught up in it. And so I think we first become aware of it. We've got to talk about this in our family, and we've got to draw our family members, especially our children, out to ask, who are you comparing yourself to? Who do you aspire to be like? And who do you want to be different from? Finding out who our children's influencers are. I had to learn that new vocabulary. Who are your influencers? Yeah. Who do you follow? Then we get that dialogue going, because we should be inspired and motivated by people's stories. We should have compassion and empathy. But like Chris is pointing out, instead we tend to go to narcissistic tendencies or to depression when we compare ourselves and find ourselves better than or less than. So talking about it is one of the main steps. Get it out in the open within families. Normalize it, but then lead your children to take action based on that motivation and inspiration and compassion.
And I find in that, in that connection, we don't want to become performative like social media. We want to become personal. We want to become relational. And that requires that we accept and that we be present. And those are two really, really hard things to do in today's world. Yeah.
Well, and I love all of that. And also, we are loved and created by the creator of the universe. And when we recognize that helps us to see our value and to move through those things that are going to naturally come because we're human. We hope you'll give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. We will see you right after the break.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, May 13th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEWLIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are just excited that you're here, and we're taking some calls. We've got some lines open, but we're going to start with Ty, calling us from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and listens to us on the website. Ty, we're so glad you called. How can we help you today?
Yeah, my question is, I've got ADHD, and I have a hard time focusing on staying in God's Word, staying in Scripture, keeping up on reading it. And I was wondering what kind of advice you have.
Okay, well, we'll start with you, Chris. You got any ideas for Ty, who's wanting to be in the Word?
Yeah, absolutely.
Having challenges.
Well, welcome to the club. I got ADHD myself. I have a version called inattentive type, which is really frustrating because I'm easily distracted. But I'm going to go a little bit different direction here. And Ty, how much anxiety do you carry on the inside of you?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. And how long have you had that? This sort of anxiousness about yourself or yourself in the world?
Kind of often, as long as I can remember.
Yeah. Can I guess that you grew up in a home that was a wee bit chaotic?
Yeah, it was definitely some us.
Well, tell me about that. What was it like in your home growing up?
My parents, they had a pretty marriage, but every once in a while my mom would have kind of these episodes where kind of everybody hated her, and she'd kind of have these little fits almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So mom dealt with what mom dealt with was probably some of her own unfinished work and pain that she's carrying around that turned into shame. And so in that shame, she would just like, oh, everyone hates me, and probably get really mad and sad and kind of be all over the place. And so that could be very confusing to you because you're like, well, I didn't do that. I didn't think that. And so what happens inside of us as we carry that is there's a subtle sense of anxiety. And anxiety creates a great distractibility because it actually requires our attention but takes away our focus. And the reason I mention this, because for so many people that I work with ADHD, including myself, is that when I go to work on the anxiety side of it, my mind is able to relax and focus a little bit more. But if we're carrying around a lot of anxiety in us, it doesn't matter what other tools we apply to the ADHD, it's always going to get hijacked by that worry, by that anxiety. And so being able to feel emotionally settled on the inside is going to be the number one task for you to really be able to calm the mind to focus a little bit more. And then there's other aspects of that other things that we do to manage our ADHD.
That's good. That's good. Alice?
Ty, what are you afraid will happen if you don't read Scripture frequently enough?
I I don't feel like I know enough understanding of the word. Like, I've kind of had a calling on my heart to start putting together a men's group at the local church I attend, and I really feel like I need to have a little better understanding of the word before I can get too much into doing that kind of stuff.
And how well is your ADHD treated? If you were to tell me 3 of the top things you do to manage your symptoms, what are the best 3 things you do?
I really don't have much that I actually do. Like, I tried doing the stimulant medication, and that caused me problems with my asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And are you in any professional structured treatment or counseling for your symptoms at this point?
I'm not.
So I see 2 separate concerns, Ty. One is you don't feel prepared enough to start what God might be nudging you to do, which is the men's group. And the other side is it sounds like your ADHD is basically untreated currently. So I would guess it causes you attention problems and struggles in other areas of your life apart from Scripture. So on the one hand, I want you to recall that there's this catchy phrase that God equips people that he calls. He doesn't call the equipped. He mainly equips the people that he calls when we respond to the call, meaning when we take action, he will give us the necessary tools as we step out in faith. So I don't want you to wait too long to start that group. New Life has some fabulous material. And actually, it was the way I first started a group, Ty, because I also felt unprepared. I hadn't even read the Bible through all the way when I first started a group, and I thought, I don't know enough to do this. And so I got Steve Arterburn's Healing is a Choice group format. And by having a format from a man who'd done so much more study and had so much more biblical and counseling wisdom than I had, it equipped me to answer the call that God was giving me as well to start a group. So don't wait to have sufficient knowledge, but rather get the resources that will provide sufficient knowledge and structure for you to start the group. And then please reconsider checking back into the variety of treatments available for ADHD. And our friend Dr. Daniel Amen has a very structured approach.
Yeah.
If stimulants don't work well for you, Ty, there's dietary changes that you can make, increasing protein, decreasing simple carbohydrates. You probably know exercise will help your brain to function better. And there are a lot of vitamins and supplements that can also help your brain function better. You don't necessarily have to go to stimulants. It's not the only answer, so don't stop pursuing treatment for that.
Yeah. And Alice, I want to point out something that you said I think is really important, is that, Ty, us guys don't need more knowledge. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do. But that's not the primary need. We need more connection. We need groups that are connected, not groups that just simply try to ingest more information. Because it's the connection that's going to be transformative. The information just supports that. One of the best small groups I was ever a part of was this couple that quite honestly didn't know much about the Bible, but they were phenomenal hosts. And they were able to just really facilitate an atmosphere of openness and connection. And, God, to Alice's point, God showed up and revealed himself in and through the rest of us, and through his word. So, again, the fear there of let me just tell you this, your fear will set a standard for knowledge that you will never meet.
Well said.
You will never start that group if you feel like you have to get more a particular type of knowledge that the fear is setting the standard. So go ahead and start it and connect with other guys.
That's right. And Ty will send you a copy of Healing is a Choice, just like what you were just talking about, Alice. But we do have all kinds of group resources that can help you along the way. And I hope that you will find some success in that, and we'll get you connected with a counselor along the way too. We're going to keep taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. Right now we're going to talk with Mary, who's calling us from Philadelphia, and she listens on Sirius XM. Hi Mary, thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
First, I want to thank you for your program. It's such a blessing and encouragement to everybody that listens to it. And my question is, I have been talking with a man. My husband passed away quite many years ago, okay? And his wife just passed away 6 years ago. And he is in a state of depression. He does go for help. I think he even takes medicine to help him. But, you know, I love the Lord, and I know God can help him. And I just feel so impressed to call him and to encourage him. And I've been doing that for maybe 2 months. But I just can't seem to get through to him. Now, while I'm talking to him, he listens. He agrees. He feels like he knows me because we both have gone through that, okay? You know, not everybody faces grief the same. It's harder for some people for some reason. And I really want to help them, but I feel like when I call them again, it's just like the same thing. So is there anything, am I doing something wrong here that I can't get through to him?
That's a good question, Mary. Alice, go ahead.
Mary, are you also in a dating relationship with him, or is it just a friendship?
No. I will tell you this, though. I'm alone. So when I talk to him and I say things to him, the way that he'll answer sometimes, he makes me laugh. Would you believe that? He makes me laugh. And at the same time, I think, you know what? You're helping me, too, whether you realize it or not. And I do tell him that, you know. But I just have such concern in my heart for him because I know what he's going through. And there's a time I think, don't you have to let go? You don't ever forget, but you have to let go. And he isn't in the place with God like I am.
Oh, hold on. So Mary, you are doing something wrong, phenomenally wrong.
I am.
Okay. But it's not with him.
Okay.
It's with yourself.
What am I doing?
You're expecting that you have power over his depression, over his grief, and you don't.
But I want to help him.
Yeah, sure.
Uh-huh.
But guess what?
What?
We can only help people as much as they want the help. The other aspect of this is, I'm going to guess that you want something more from him in the relationship. And that is creating an anxiousness for him to move on from his grief.
Yes.
But that's not respecting where he's at in his grief.
Even though it's been for years.
Well, it could be quite a while. Who knows? You said it well. You said it very well. We each process this in our own way. I'm not saying that this gentleman couldn't be doing more to help himself along the process of grief recovery. But what I am saying is that the pressure you're putting on him to do that I think is coming from a desire inside of you, not him.
So do you know what more you want from him in relationship, Mary?
No, I just want to help him because I want him to enjoy life the way God wants him to. You know, it's like he doesn't have much of a motivation, and then when he talks, it seems like he has a lot of strength in his voice. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Well, I have a question, Mary. I have a question. Did you know him before his wife died?
No, I didn't.
Because I'm wondering if this is his disposition. You know, we have some.
You know, I thought about that.
I mean, it could just be his approach to life is a little bit lower than what you might be expecting of him, and that the grief process just got kind of connected in your mind that he needs to be moving through this grief. Yeah, and you're right. Everybody has to deal with grief in their own way. But like Chris is saying, you know, it can't be for you, Mary. It's got to be for him. But he could be depressed. He could or that could just be his way of moving about in the world.
Mary, does he ask you for help, and does he express a desire to get more help than he's receiving currently?
Well, he says that he feels that I'm stronger than him, and he wants to be strong like that, you know. But he says when he tries, he says it's just it's difficult. And, I had told him this. Now, I could be wrong by saying this, but I had told him that, maybe you're going by your feelings too much. And I said, and he does talk about God. He does go to church. And I said, maybe if you just, kind of go by what God can do for you through this, maybe it will strengthen you more,
Well, Mary, you're a good friend, good listening ear. I think that it is important to allow people to do their grief process in the way that they're going to be going through it.
Okay.
We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Workbook on grief. It may help you, it may help him, and just get into that process of what to look for. And I would also encourage you to maybe, shift the conversation away from you being the helper all the time and just see where that connection will begin to heal. And we'll be right back.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict.
There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, June 10th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are continuing to take calls at 1-800-229-3000 for the next hour and a half or so. We're here to help you, and we want to offer, whatever we can. And, Chris and Alice are so brilliant. I know that you're already taking notes on what they've shared. And we're going to actually hear a little bit more from Alice right now. Alice, what were you thinking as far as Mary's situation?
Well, Mary, we know that proactive lament helps us to move through the grief process rather than staying stuck. And so you can certainly encourage your friend to talk about his wife, to allow himself to cry, to make sure that he's bringing it up in counseling. And we know that group support also helps move the process of grief forward. Connect him with us, connect him with New Life, because we can direct him to a New Life recovery group in his area that can help him walk through that process. Our emotional freedom our next one is not until December 2nd, but that's a fabulous weekend and workshop for exactly this kind of thing. And lastly, I feel protective about you, Mary, and I could be off on this, but I know if I were you and I were in such close contact with a man after the passing of my husband, I think I'd probably have some romantic feelings for him. And I want you to be cautious about your heart in this process. Think about if he never moves farther in his grief, if he never gets more treatment for his depression, or his depression remains at the same level, what would that mean for you, for your heart, and for that relationship? Because I want you to have a cautious stance of your level of involvement if he's not as interested in the healing process as you are.
That's really good. That's really good. Thank you, Alice. You know, you were mentioning emotional freedom. We just did that last weekend, and it was an online workshop. And some people will ask us what the difference is between the online and the in-person. You still get the main teaching sessions and the group sessions. It's just, instead of being a weekend, it is one day. And we're getting ready to do an Every Man's Battle online one day. And for some of you guys, you have put off dealing with the sexual integrity issue that you have. This could be the day that could really make a difference in all of your life. And so we want to encourage you, you know, it's convenient. It's a lot less expensive, but you still get really great help and get a good start going forward. So we just want to encourage you to do that. We're going to,
and Becky,
go ahead.
I want to chime in about that, because I want to talk to the guys out there for a moment. One of the really, really difficult things, I mean, I think one of the most damaging and destructive things about sexual acting out that can become addictive is that we can actually still show up and function and still be acting out. And what that does is it creates a strong sense of denial or minimization that keeps it going. But over time, you will definitively experience diminishing returns. It chips away over and over and over at our emotional well-being, at our relational well-being. It will definitively affect your work. There's not a domain or an area of your life that it eventually won't negatively impact. And in those places of isolation, and the shame that exists there is too torturous. So guys, if you're there today, sign up for Every Man's Battle. Do not waste time.
And even if you think you're keeping your acting out a secret, it still leaks out to your wife, to your children, and in your workspace, as you're pointing out, Chris. Keeping it a secret does not protect those around you from the effects of sexual addiction.
That's right. Thank you. And so if you need help, give us a call and we'll get you connected there. Right now, we are going to go back to the phones and we're going to talk with Denise, who's calling us from San Jose, listens on KFAX, and we're so glad you called, Denise. How can we help you today?
Thank you for taking my call. I struggle with dissociative identity disorder and ADHD, and I went to a counselor years ago. They told me, like, I went to the AMN clinic, and they told me, like, there were 7 things: post-traumatic stress disorder, etc. And it seems like it's just gotten worse. There's different parts. One part has, as far back as I can remember, would sabotage things. There's a part of me that hates me. There's a part or parts that seem to hate Jesus, and I'm a born-again believer, and I love the Lord. And it's really making my life is really difficult because of it. I have to sell my house and move, and that's overwhelming. There's like a little girl that's terrified, or a teenager that feels that's, well, I'm going to stop talking right now and listen to you.
Well, Denise, that's a lot. Chris, do you want to start and just explain for the audience what dissociative identity disorder is, just to give an idea?
Yeah, real quickly. Dissociative identity disorder is this thing where we go into different personalities inside of us. And for those who have a strong dissociative identity disorder, those personalities become very strong, into which we can, like, they can kind of take over, you know? And so Denise is really struggling with that. That is usually born out of early childhood trauma and severe trauma. Because when we're in deep places of vulnerability and something very scary and painful and overwhelming happens to us, we can no longer stay in the present moment. We have to go somewhere else. And when we go somewhere else, it's called dissociation, that can actually become a personality. And that personality can then start really forming a life of its own. And for some of us that struggle with this, like Denise, that needs deep compassion and understanding for what's going on inside of her, that there's different personalities that she goes to under duress and stress to try to manage what feels like an overwhelming world around her.
Denise, you can hear the music, but we're going to come back and complete, this conversation after the break. But I just wanted, to explain, because sometimes when we can understand what we're dealing with, it can help us get a path forward. And we want to do that for you. We'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We do have some lines open at 1-800-229-3000. Right now we are talking with Denise, and we're just having a little explanation about what dissociative identity disorder is. But Chris or Alice, how can we help Denise in this struggle that she's having?
Denise, with so much happening and all those diagnoses you've received, I first applaud you that you've done that amount of work to get the diagnoses, to have some labels to be able to put to what you go through. And it sounds like you're still in counseling even now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, this is such a lifetime journey, such a lifetime work you have. And you've got a lot to do, but you've done a lot already. And I would guess that you have gone through some pretty horrific abuse, perhaps even spiritualized abuse. Is that the case?
Well, excuse me, I don't remember a lot of abuse, but there was a lot of ongoing neglect and no affirming. And I've been told that if that's ongoing, that can be abusive or real damaging. Yeah, it was nonstop. I don't remember my mom. I remember when I was as far back as a toddler, I remember seeing her cook, seeing her wash dishes, but I don't ever remember her sitting down and playing with me and connecting with me. My parents divorced when I was 11. That was very traumatic for me. And then my dad started a homosexual life, which he lived for 40 years until his lover died. And that was very hard. It was very tumultuous with my mother. I hated my mother. She was sexually inappropriate with me a few times. And just her whole focus was around herself. And actually, my dad said I became a lot like her, which I don't like, but I think it's probably true in terms of being self-centered and feeling inferior or low self-esteem, rather.
Denise, would you tell us a little of what your spiritual journey has been like after suffering so much in your family of origin?
Well, my family went to church for years, every Sunday, but none of us were saved. I got saved when I was 21. I was suicidal. I've struggled with suicidal thoughts since I was 13 and for most of my life, even after being saved. So I got saved. It was a radical transformation. I went from drinking, smoking, partying to going to church all the time, carrying my Bible around. But recently, I've been saved about 47 years, but recently I feel like not close to God. I feel like I've struggled with him being mad at me. My mom told me once, she said to me, "You'd even make God mad at you." And that, she said that when I was in high school, and I never forget that. I feel like when I blow it, which lately there's been a part of me that cusses at God and swears at God, and then there's another part of me that's fearful. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, God. And
it's really hard, Denise. There's a lot of disorganization in your feelings and your thoughts. So, Chris or Alice, how can we help Denise kind of get in a forward motion? I'm not knowing what her counselor is doing with her, but obviously trauma counseling would be a good step. But Chris, why don't you start with that?
Yeah, because what I hear most loudly right now, Denise, is that your parents carried a lot of shame and they put it on you. And you became the target of their shame. Shame is incredibly painful and incredibly overwhelming, especially when it comes from our parents. And so as your parents put that on you, it got confused and conflated with your relationship with God. And so Alice, thank you for asking that question, because that really helps us understand how much, as Becky was saying, chaos is going on inside of you. And so getting into a good trauma recovery process allows you to identify what I believe is happening inside of you is a singular, painful, shameful message that is splitting you like a bomb into many different parts. And if you can identify what that is, like, I'm unlovable, I am unworthy. And so to get worthy, I have to split into this other person and this other thing. And to start resolving that and discovering your immeasurable value as a human being, as a child of God, and start cultivating out of that. We know that this is a very, very complex and difficult condition that you're dealing with. And so you want to give it time, and you want to kind of think of it as a lifetime journey.
And it does seem to get worse before it gets better, because as you go through the discovery of how many parts you have and what their roles are, it's overwhelming to glean that kind of information. And you think, boy, I'm even more of a mess than I thought I was. But the discovery is part of the moving forward process, because each of your parts has a role. It has a purpose. And it was a good purpose to start with. It was a survival tactic. So as disturbing as it feels to have a part of you that hates you and hates God, and you probably want to reject those parts, in work with DID, what we want to do is get to know those parts and invite their story to be told, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Assume you have a good reason for your stance, and I want to find out why you hate God. Because when you can come to validate and empathize with your own parts, there's a better chance of harmonizing with those parts and reintegrating them into the whole that is you. So make sure that your counselor is either willing to learn about this, knows about it, has expertise, or you might want to add another clinician on who has expertise in this area to add to the good work you're doing with your counselor currently, because it is very complex.
I love that. Thank you so much, Denise. We're going to send you a copy of Every Believer's Thought Life. And if you want to hold on, and if you want to see if we have a trauma therapist in your area, we can do that as well. But, we're going to be praying for you, Denise. And we know that there is help available, but we want to do what we can to help you. Speaking of somebody who likes to help people, Larry Sonnenberg's in the studio. Hi, Larry.
Hello, Becky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. And you?
Good. We got a great little testimony that came in just 2 days ago. Someone wrote this, and I love this. Dear Steve, you won't remember me, but I met you a number of years ago at one of the workshops in New Jersey. Well, I thought about it, and that had to be 15 to 17, 18 years ago. We hadn't done one in New Jersey for a long time. At that time, my wife and I were in good times, and I had an opportunity to come up to the microphone to speak about how our marriage had grown, thanks to every man's battle. From the auditorium, my wife called out, "That's my guy." Now, the reason I'm writing is to acknowledge the tough financial situation you're experiencing. I don't have to repeat the details of how people have been given a scholarship that gave them opportunity to attend a workshop, but we don't want that benefit to go away because donations have slackened so much. I haven't donated so much regularly before, but hope this donation helps and that greater supporters will follow suit. May God bless you and your staff to return your strength. Folks, I'm asking if you might be one of those greater supporters that will follow suit. He gave $100, and it's no small amount, but anything that you can give would be helpful. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, I don't know. But I'm just asking you to look to the Lord, pray about what he would have you give, how much he would have you give, but give in support of this ministry because it is changing lives. Holy Spirit is doing a wonderful work through New Life, and we want that to continue, but we need your support to keep it going.
You know, we are so grateful because we have our Club New Lifers that give every month, and want to say thank you to them. But, you know, that would be a good way for you to give. You can join Club New Life, and it is a monthly giving program that helps us do all that we are doing, and it really makes a difference. They're like the backbone of the ministry, and we're so grateful. And matter of fact, if you join, you might you'll be just in time to join us for our Zoom gathering that we're going to do tomorrow night.
Right.
And so, you know, it's just one of the benefits of being in Club New Life. And if you're interested, you can call us at 800 New Life. But, you know, we're just so grateful for those of you who are giving, but want to encourage you, if you haven't given, this could be the day.
You know, Becky, it's tax time too. I think there's a deadline today on taxes somewhere. I read that. I did.
Somewhere.
Yeah. And if you gave a stock gift, you might really benefit tax-wise. If you've held the stock for a year or more and that stock has appreciated, if you give New Life that stock instead of cash, you will not have any capital gains tax to pay. And New Life will get the benefit of the value of the stock because we'll turn around and sell it. So just a thought. It's always a lot.
And that thought is that all those people that we would be able to help with that generosity directed towards the ministry. It really does. You know, I was talking to one of our fabulous coworkers today that said, you know, when we are on the front lines, we see these testimonies of people's lives changing. And it is amazing how God works through New Life. And we're so grateful for the opportunity to stand in that gap. We are going to thank you, Larry, for all that you do. We are going to take a break here. We're going to go back to the phones. We've got lines open, 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk to Angie after this break. And if you need some help, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000.
We went to the Intimacy and Marriage in 2019. We were both done.
This is Steve Arterburn. Do you feel like your marriage is done? New Life can help. We believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life. Our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to experience a new level of intimacy and have a great marriage.
The transformation phenomenal, and it's transformed our lives so much.
1-800-NEWLIFE.
Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue. and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are continuing to take calls for another hour, so call us at 1-800-229-3000. You know, we also have a coaching network. If you're interested in working with a coach, you can call us and we'll get you connected with somebody who can help you in different ways. And, you know, we're grateful that you are part of the family here. We're going to talk with Angie, and she's calling us from Woodstock, Maryland, listens on WAVA. Hi, Angie. How can we help you today?
Calling about my son. He hates life. He hates his life. He hates himself. He isolates himself, and he doesn't like his work. He works from home. He did grow up a Christian, but he decided when he went off to college, he decided that he didn't believe it anymore. And he says he has ADHD and he has anxiety. His regular doctor gave him, I guess, I don't know the name of it, but an anxiety medication. He requested an ADHD medication. He says it helps him to make life more bearable. So my question is, how can I help him or direct him to the proper help that he may need? Because I don't think he's ever been diagnosed or, and he's 31, by the way. I just don't know how to help him.
Thanks, Angie. I know that's a big concern. Chris, let's start with you.
Has he... Here's where my mind immediately goes, Angie, is that much hate usually is born out of pain. And my question is, what is the pain that your 31-year-old son is carrying that he has not yet addressed, worked through, and resolved?
I often ask him, what happened? And he says, it's not one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it may not be one thing, and it's got to be incredibly painful for you and really scary for you as his mom.
Yes.
Is he willing to go into therapy and to address and start looking at these things that he's carrying around on the inside?
I think he would be, and that's what I'm trying to see, where to direct him to get therapy. Just some help from him, yes.
And that's where I would start. I would start there, as well as getting him into a psychiatrist who can do a really good assessment to see if there is some different medications that can work well with him. Sometimes doctors, which I'm not one, my disclaimer, but sometimes doctors are hesitant to prescribe ADHD medicine because it's typically a stimulant. And our bodies create tolerance to stimulants very quickly, and they can also have a tendency over time to be a little bit or a lot of bit addictive. And so oftentimes doctors will look to other interventions to see if those are effective in the treatment of ADHD. And like you said, and he's carrying anxiety inside of him.
Well, and there's a lot of isolation too due to his work. And you know, it's interesting because in this day and age where everybody has, you know, moved, a lot of people, I shouldn't say everybody, we've moved to the work at home. We've forgotten how powerful community, even though sometimes the workplace can be irritating, just being around others can really benefit us. Alice, what would you encourage Angie with? What can she do?
Well, Angie, I'm concerned for you from one mother to another when we watch our children suffer and we can't solve the problem for them. it just causes us so much angst in our hearts. And I think we take a lot of responsibility on for it, of what did I do? What did I not do as a mom that my son is suffering at this level?
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
support that you have as you're trying to help your son?
Well, for me, I just do exercise. I go to the gym, and I am in my church. I fellowship with other saints, so that helps me a lot.
I hope you will add to that support network. This might sound odd, and it sounds selfish, but the help we get for ourselves as moms equips us and fuels us to be able to stand by our sons and to be able to refine the way that we help them. Because with that level of depression that it sounds like your son is experiencing, it can be bewildering to know how much help does my son need and how much do I need to challenge him as a 31-year-old. Is it best that I take care of him, and at what level? Or does he need to be taking care of himself better? But he's so depressed, so it's very difficult to know. And so connecting with even a family therapist who can help you to strategize this together will give you the strength that you need so that you can then better help your son. With his level of pain, it's so likely that you both have been through things that maybe you had to minimize. It wasn't as bad, or we were able to handle it. We were able to get through it so that you could survive whatever this, not just one thing, but many things are that you and your son probably both went through.
Go
ahead, Beck. Yeah.
Well, go ahead. No, finish up, Alice.
I hope you'll let us connect you through our counselor network with providers who can help with all these different recommendations that we're giving you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And, one of the things that I want to applaud you on, Angie, is the fact that he's talking with you.
Oh, absolutely.
That it's not just your observation of his struggle, but he's sharing with you. And that's very important
Very
in this
little.
whole process. Yeah. Well, I know it's little, but it's something. And is he living with you, Angie?
Yes, but he has his own living area, and
Right. Okay. Well, I do agree with what Alice says. We'll just hold on and we'll get you connected with somebody in that area because we've got some great people in that area that can help with both family and individual care. It's scary, like you said, Alice, to observe this, but there is hope and there's help. We're going to send you a copy of Healing is a Choice. I think that could be a great reference. We started the program today with that whole idea of comparison trap. And I think that sometimes even in this situation, he may be feeling less than because at 31, and he's got this job and, you would hope that it would be better. And then just that feeling of defeat, as we close the program, Chris or Alice, how can we encourage people who may be feeling stuck, whether it's a comparison trap or even in a depressive state? What can we do to move forward?
I think the most important thing that we can do to begin with is to admit that we're stuck and then to recruit people and flashlights.
Flashlights.
Okay, flashlights. People with good flashlights that are safe can then shine the light in the dark places that are keeping us stuck and illuminate those places inside of us that keep us stuck and then help us move through those. Because we can't correct and we can't fix what we can't see. And so we first need to see it to see what's going on and then to move forward through it.
And it's frightening to admit to ourselves and others that we can't fix the problem on our own. It feels so risky to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But that's where we can access those good people with flashlights that really can get us past that point where we're stuck.
I love that. Thanks, both of you. That's such a great, I always take notes when you guys are on and I can barely read them half the time because I'm writing fast, but I know that it is so much a part of our lives that we do need people to help us. And I think asking for help is a big risk, but it is worth the risk taking. You can either you can call us 1-800-229-3000. We're going to take calls for the next hour. You could call us to find a counselor, but whatever way it is to help you get unstuck, we're here for it. And we want you to experience the life that God has planned for you, a life that's free, but a life that's also giving and receiving love. We want that for you. And We're here to help you. Thank you, Alice, and thank you, Chris. If you're on the line, please hold on. And if you want, you can call us 1-800-229-3000.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.